Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers. It was one of those unremarkable afternoons that feel safely routine, the kind where nothing unexpected ever seems likely to happen. The sun was drifting lower over downtown Chicago, washing the glass and steel skyline in a soft amber glow. I had a small gap between meetings and decided to relax at Brood Awakenings, a cafe that had become almost a second office to me over the years. Inside, everything felt familiar and steady, the low murmur of conversations, ceramic cups clinking against saucers, steam hissing from the espresso machine, indie music humming quietly in the background. It was the perfect place to slow my thoughts for a moment, to breathe and reset before the rest of the day swallowed me again. When I opened the door, the small bell above it rang softly. The place was crowded as usual, but out of habit my eyes drifted toward my favorite seat by the window to see if it was taken. That's when my world tilted. Emily, my wife. She was sitting there, wrapped in the warm afternoon light as if the sun had chosen her alone. Her brown hair cascaded effortlessly over her shoulders, and her green eyes sparkled as she laughed, a light, musical laugh I hadn't heard in a long time. Once, that sound had been enough to make everything feel right. Seeing it now felt unsettling. Something wasn't right. At first, I couldn't identify why my chest tightened. Then I noticed the man across from her. He looked put together and self-assured, with neatly styled hair and an easy confidence in the way he carried himself. He leaned toward her just enough to signal interest, listening intently. Their eye contact lingered. Their smiles came too naturally. It felt intimate. Too intimate. My stomach knotted. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were co-workers. Maybe this was innocent. But deep down I already knew the truth. I should have turned around and left. Instead, my feet carried me forward, my pulse thudding loudly in my ears. She hadn't noticed me yet. I paused near the counter, caught between confronting what I was seeing and pretending it wasn't happening at all. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. Time seemed to freeze. Her smile collapsed instantly. Her shoulders stiffened. Her expression flashed with panic before she quickly looked away, as if erasing me would undo the moment. But it was too late. I'd seen everything I needed to see. The man stood and turned toward me with an easy grin, extending his hand. "Hey, I'm Mark," he said casually. "Emily and I work together." His voice was smooth, unbothered. Too comfortable. His smile felt wrong, like it didn't belong in that moment. That name, Mark, lodged itself in my mind like a shard I couldn't pull out. I shook his hand. "I'm Ion," I said, forcing the words out. My voice wavered despite my effort to stay composed. My hand was damp with sweat. Emily rose from her chair, visibly shaken. She opened her mouth as if to explain, but nothing came. The silence around us felt heavy, suffocating. Finally she said quietly, "Ion, I didn't think you'd be here." That sentence cut deeper than any confession could have. There was no denial. No attempt to disguise what this was. Just shock that I had stumbled into her secret. I stood there, absorbing the weight of it all. How long had this been happening? How many late nights had been lies? How many times had I trusted her without question? I looked at her and managed to ask, "Is this why you've been pulling away?" She said nothing. Her gaze dropped to the floor, her silence louder than any answer. I turned and walked out. The cold air outside hit me like a slap, sharp and sobering. I struggled to breathe, my chest tight with pressure. I needed motion. Distance. Anything. I got into my car and drove aimlessly, my thoughts spiraling. Somehow, I ended up outside our apartment building. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, staring straight ahead as memories replayed on a loop. The warning signs I ignored, the excuses I made for her, the quiet moments when I convinced myself everything was fine. I didn't want explanations. I didn't want apologies rehearsed out of guilt. I wanted her to understand what she had destroyed. Upstairs, the apartment was silent. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. I picked up a pen and paper without thinking and wrote exactly what I felt. No edits. No hesitation. Don't come home. I folded the note and slid it under the door. That was all. No shouting. No scenes. Just a line drawn. I sat on the couch afterward, waiting, listening for the click of the lock, the sound of her footsteps, the moment she'd realize everything had changed. She never came back that night. Or the next. The quiet stretched on, heavier than any argument could have been. Inside me, emotions collided, anger, grief, disbelief, twisting together into something I couldn't untangle. But in that silence, clarity emerged. This wasn't only about her betrayal. It was about who I had become while trying to save something that had already been slipping away. I had been holding on to a version of her that no longer existed, maybe never truly had, and in doing so, I'd let pieces of myself disappear. That ended here. I wasn't going to be that person anymore. And I wasn't going to be the fool. Please help me to reach 1,000 subscribers.